welcome to today's Hump Day. Well, it's not Hump Day Hangout. Today's EMS Today show, which basically we're going to actually start this up on a regular basis pretty soon. But today is a special edition because we're going to be talking about the EMS Today show coming up this February, which is the 19th through the 22nd. An amazing show. Doesn't matter what kind of medic you are, whether you're just a basic first aid person, all the way up to an emergency room physician. There's something at this show for you. Tons of stuff for you. And just we're gonna rap about the show. We got some incredible guests. We got Ryan Kelley out of San Diego who's hanging out with us, and Ryan is our editor online and for JEMS and our one of our social media mavens, and so he takes care of all that good stuff. Everybody at EMS Today knows him. Big member of the JEMS game, great guy. We also got Rommie Duckworth with us, and Rommie is an incredible medic, firefighter, long-standing presenter at FDIC, EMS Today. You all know Rommie Duckworth. I mean, if you don't know Rommie Duckworth, apparently you haven't been in the business very long. And then we've got Mike McEvoy, the doc. I mean, here's a guy who's been doing EMS the fire service since Jesus was a corporal. So, I mean, this is a well-known face, a super guy. Mike is actually at a parole hearing right now. They're trying to get him out. That's why he's dressed the way he is. Just kidding. Mike is coming to us graciously from another meeting. So, and this is a hangout. So we would love to hear what you think about EMS Today and what you want to see and who you want to talk to and what you think of the show and where we're going. We've really blasted the doors off, and we've got some really exciting announcements that we're going to be making at EMS Today, probably before EMS Today, but it's just going to blow your doors off about how we're expanding our personnel, our show, and the really cool stuff we want to do into the future. And Ryan and Mike and Rommie are all going to be a big part of that. So it's a really exciting time to be part of this group of people. And just for full disclosure, I'm just the circus performer. I'm the village idiot. And every village needs one. Apparently, it's me. So, these guys are the real meat and potatoes. Our good partner AJ Heitman is having a little computer issue right now, and as soon as he gets it worked out, we'll have AJ on, and hopefully we'll have Ed Ratch out of Austin from AMR to join us as well. So it's going to be a cool hangout. If you want to talk to us, it's hashtag EMS Today. Hashtag EMS Today. I've got my device somewhere. Here it is. I've got my device somewhere, and I'll be watching Twitter. So if you want to give us a shout, give us a shout. So really cool stuff. Also, I'll be in Austin, Texas, starting tomorrow, down there with all the docs. The emergency physicians having a meeting. So I'll be hanging out down there, trying to rap with some of those guys. Just showing them how, just getting to know some of these cats. So that'll be pretty cool. We'll be doing a couple of live streams. And I'll be up in Michigan over the weekend there, and hopefully on Long Island towards the end of the week, and then in Indianapolis the week after that, and then up in BC the week after that. So we'll be rapping to you from all across the country over the next couple of days. But now to EMS Today, and so I'm really excited about it. I'm like super excited about it, and I want to bring in Ryan and Mike and Rommie to talk about what they're doing there and what they're super excited about, because all of them are presenting several programs, and so why don't we really start off with the guy who I think is just an amazing dude and a dear friend of mine. For Mike and I have known each other for 25 years now, and I couldn't have done FDIC without Mike. I couldn't have done fire engineering without Mike. Mike has kind of been the medic to everybody. He's taken care of all of us through good times and bad times. It's funny because when we're sick, we think he's like our private doctor. So we call him up to get advice, and he's like, "Look, stupid, I'm not a doctor, but here's what you ought to do." So, hey, Mike, tell us what you're doing at EMS Today and some of the stuff you're going to be doing at the show.
Okay. So I got three presentations that I'm doing. One of them is called Huff and Puff and Blow the House Down, and it's about non-invasive ventilation, so CPAP and BiPAP, high-flow nasal cannula, some technologies that are increasingly becoming available in kind of disposable form for pre-hospital people. And
so hey, Rommie, Ryan, do you guys mind if we kind of ask questions when we have a question when somebody says, are you guys cool with just with the hangout thing? So Mike, you just said something about in your class Huff and Puff and Blow the House Down, high flow nasal cannula stuff. I always thought that was like a no-go. I always thought that we like a high flow nasal cannula was like something we shouldn't do. Is that different now?
It's changing. I mean, it hasn't really made its way into the pre-hospital world yet, but we'll use it inter-facility transports between hospitals. And it's nasal cannula that can run at 40, 60 liters a minute. It's obviously got to be humidified, got to be warm to body temperature, but it works really well and avoids the need of putting a lot of people on ventilators. So we're seeing more in transports. There's going to be a pre-hospital version of it soon.
Wow, that's pretty cool. See, and that's why okay, I'm the least educated medic on this call, flat out. That is without debate. So for a guy like me, that's really important to hear. I mean, that's really, really important to hear, which is why this show is so important, right? Because I swear to goodness, my mom is in the she's in home care. She's passing, and she's on a nasal cannula. She's an emphysemic, and I always thought like 6 liters, 8 liters was like the max, and to hear like 60 liters in my head, it's like a hot air balloon. My mom's head will turn into like a hot air balloon, and she'll lift up and blow away. But that's a really cool thing to learn. You know what I mean? Because and the right instances to do it. And I know Mike in your class you'll expand. That is really neat. That's really neat. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's really neat.
And don't try that at home, Bobby.
That's right. You're a professional. Oh God. Sure. I'm sorry. I hate you. What else are you? What? Okay, so Huff and Puff and Blow the House Down. What else is going to be inside that course, Mike? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like on a Hangout, guys, like if you hear something, man, dig on it. You know.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll also talk about CPAP and BiPAP, which we are using a lot of CPAP in the pre-hospital environment and saving a lot of lives doing that. There's disposable BiPAP now, which you always used to have to buy a $16,000 ventilator if you wanted to do BiPAP on somebody. And now you can buy a device that's a throwaway device that does the exact same thing. So those things are, there's 2 of them on the market now. There's probably going to be another 3 or 4 in the next few years. And people aren't really that aware of what those are. And those who have them aren't that aware of how to use them, which is it's a complicated physiology, so we'll get into that a bit, kind of explain how that works and how to use it and how to make it to your advantage with a patient.
Huh. So I gave everybody the hashtag EMS Today for a search, but that might not be such a good idea because the website comes up.
Uh-oh.
So I don't know if that's a stupid idea or not, but it shows 10 tweets. Let me see if any of them are from folks listening to us. And they are. My good friend. Yeah. Okay. So it does work. More never minder. So I can see your tweets at EMS Today. I'm sorry, guys. So, Mike, you said 4 devices are going to come online for BiPAP. I don't know what that is. I apologize.
So there's CPAP, which is like a dog sticking its head out the window of the car and trying to get some extra air into the system. And then we put these masks on people and we crank up the pressure that helps them to breathe when their lungs are full of fluid or something's going on that's causing.
So would that be like a congestive heart failure person or somebody with a chest injury?
Yeah, well, that's a classic example is heart failure. People filled up with fluid. I mean, this saves lives within seconds. People are better when you put that kind of thing on.
Wow.
And then you crank up the pressure on those things, and you get it up to a certain point, and it becomes intolerable. And that's when BiPAP comes in.
Okay.
It helps to relieve the extra pressure when somebody's trying to breathe out.
What else are you teaching?
So I got 2 other classes I'm doing. One is on sepsis, and it's sort of an intro to sepsis. And there's a lot of controversy about sepsis lately. The emergency medicine docs went totally berserk when the Society of Critical Care Medicine changed their guidelines about 8 months ago and started saying that in the pre-hospital world and the emergency department, they got to do everything for the septic patient within the first hour. And so now we got tons of little old ladies getting big boluses of fluid and putting them into heart failure because people are trying to meet the goal. And so that's a big controversial area. And we actually have some good tools that we could use in the pre-hospital environment. Rommie's big on this, sepsis with kids. And
so jump in, Rommie. So full disclosure, my wife ended up in a hospital 2 years ago, as Mike knows, and Rommie knows, for well over a month, almost 7.5 weeks. Ended up having surgery because of sepsis, and lost most of her, or a large part of her left lung. So it's a no joke thing. I mean, it's a no joke thing. And Rommie, jump in with Mike. I didn't mean to mute you, Mike. Somebody muted you. It wasn't me.
No, I did it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, stay on, man. Rommie, what are you doing? So that, Rommie, are you doing anything with sepsis at the show too, or just going to jump into Mike's program?
No, I'm jumping into Mike's program. I'm having a conversation with Mike or attending one of his sessions is always like, you come to some of the sessions like you do at EMS Today to learn about a specific topic. And then Mike starts talking and you start learning about topics that you didn't even know you needed to know about. And then he expands on them and makes them really practical. And I think that's what we're really shooting for EMS Today is to not just give people the information that they're there for, which is certainly important, making it practical, making it real world for them to bring home, but also letting people know some of the new stuff that's out there and help them sort out some of the controversies, like Mike's talking about with sepsis, where we're talking about, certainly early care with sepsis, as it is with anything else, is important, but exactly, what guidelines are we following? How applicable are they to emergency medicine, to pre-hospital medicine? What's going on in the world of critical care and emergency medicine that's going to be coming out to EMS? I mean, a lot of the stuff that Mike's talked about, I think, are recurring themes for a lot of the presenters. We're really trying to peer into our crystal balls, not just to see the wacky, crazy stuff that may be a little bit far out, which is neat to find out about, but what do we need to be getting prepared for mentally, academically, budgetarily, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, and Ryan, feel free to jump in too. We got Ryan Kelley down there. Move your camera down a little, man. You're lowering my shot. But
my little stand kind of keeps slipping.
There you go. And I love the shirt, man. You should see your stand up, Rice. Think of shit. Proud paramedic. That's really cool. So like when Ryan was helping, when Ryan, we were all working on putting the show together, Ryan was instrumental. And to dovetail on what Rommie just said, we've got a couple of people coming in doing like active shooter stuff, which is huge. And they're doing active shooter stuff on a whole bunch of different levels. We've got this incredible workshop by a guy from Scotland rather, named Jeff Williams, and Paulie Schuler out of San Diego area. He was with San Jose for years. But anyway, they're going to be taking it from one look, and then someone else is doing another class and going to be looking at like the treatment and the stop the bleed stuff. So just to dovetail on what Rommie said, if it's a topic that's trending today in emergency medicine, it's going to be at the show. And such a wide variety of approaches are out there, as to how do we best, accomplish the goal of taking care of people. And I think it's a great place to have those conversations, right? Because you've got the people like Rommie and Mike who can give you, really, really, really good stuff. You know what I mean? So remember, it's hashtag EMS Today, hashtag EMS Today, if you want to send us a note and tell us just how damn good looking we are.
And one of the things I really like about EMS Today is actually going to hear from people who have actually implemented some of these things in the field, to really get that real life, those real case examples. For me, I'm an EMT, I'm not a medic. But I go into some of the advanced life.
Oh, you're a medic, bro. You're a medic. Right. No, but you're a medic. See, that's the big mismatch. Like I don't care if you've just got basic first aid. If you're working down the street, or if you're on an airplane, or you're somewhere and somebody screams for a medic, you're going to jump up and make a difference, man. And I think that, I remember the old joke when I was on the line. They used to say, the EMTs are the guys who'll save you from the paramedics. And I'm just making a joke. I'm just teasing. And I was both. So full disclosure, I was both, and I'm proud. I'm damn proud of it. Just like your shirt, I'm damn proud of the fact. And I'm still a medic. I'm just a I don't know what you'd call me, Mike. I'm just like a basic first aid guy. But I don't know what my official thing in Oklahoma is. But I'm like, I can tell you to take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning. I can clear your airway, and I can do stuff like that. And I do. I mean, and I help the guys who know what they're doing on calls. So I'm not totally useless. But that's a good example. I mean, Mike, what else are you teaching? I didn't mean to cut you short, but what else are you doing, Mike?
So then the third presentation I'm doing is called Put the Pressor On. And it's a talk all about pressors that we use that help maintain blood pressure in people who are hypotensive or hypoperfused for one reason or another. And that's a tough area because we got like a lot of opinion about what's the best thing to do and how to do it. And then we got some new drugs that are coming on the market, which like any new drug, they come out and put on a good lunch for the EMS community and try to get people to buy it. And there's some pretty expensive things out there that may or may not make sense. So try to dispel some of the myths before the advertising starts.
But I think that, and I'll just jump in here. I think one of the cool things about EMS Today, FDIC, all the shows is that, and I always love it when some character says, the science is settled. Good luck with that, pal. Science is never settled. That's why it's called science. There are some what they call scientific facts, but those are few and far between, and even those are vulnerable. They're always, there's always the edges, right? And because I'm old enough to remember when it was airway. Now it's compression. We had mask trousers, then we didn't have mask trousers, and when you're talking about, people who are low on volume or bleeding out, Mike, the hypovolemic people, we used to throw mask trousers on them, and then the trauma guy would come in, undo the mask trousers, and the person would die. And just teasing. We used to say that. I don't know if it's true or not, but I mean, it's a great. We got to have these conversations in places where it's okay to have these conversations, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that Ryan and AJ and the advisory board put together a program which is just amazing. If you're listening to us right now, please go to emstoday.com and look at the program. There is literally something for everybody in every single session. Every single session is packed full of amazing stuff. And then some great after hours stuff is going to be happening too. Things like Shock Fest and things like the Fools are going to be doing a party. And then we haven't even touched on the JEMS games yet. I'll save that for when Ryan steps up and starts talking about we haven't even gone there yet, which is just, man, your head wants to explode when you think about, I can't wait to watch the FDNY guys defending their title, right? It's going to be like Mike Tyson coming into the ring, hey man, you're the biggest guy eventually falls, right? So it's going to be so cool. So Mike, you got 3 programs going. Of all the stuff that's going on right now, before we get to Rommie and what Rommie's teaching, and please jump in here, guys. What do you think are some of the biggest things that are kind of facing us right now in the medic community, the whole medic community? What are some of the real things that are kind of like keeping us up at night?
Well, I could think of 2 big issues. One is the recent arguments has blown up in Twitter sphere about degree requirements for paramedics. And we'll be talking about that this week, actually, at NAEMSB. And the joint group of fire service folks came out with a statement of opposition to a requirement that has been proposed by educators that an entry-level paramedic have an associate's degree within the next 5 years or so. And so there's some headbutting going on, and probably something that needs a lot of discussion right now. So there's a hot topic. That's something that has us all a little bit on edge at the moment.
So, okay, so we got 3 guys here that were in the field. How do you guys feel? How do we feel? How do you guys feel about it? How do you feel about that, Mike?
Well, here's my thought about it. I think it's a good idea, but I don't think that it could be done in the next 5 years. That's my thought.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that, Mike. It's especially when I see a lot of places around the country experiencing shortages of medics and paramedics and EMTs, and I don't know if you're going to be able to get and to a certain extent, I don't know if you necessarily need an associate's degree. I mean, coming in to the field that way would be a benefit, and it would certainly kind of change the makeup of your crews. But there's also something to be said for, that kid that learns, to become an EMT in high school. They're learning it in high school these days, which is pretty awesome. And then just kind of rises through the ranks and learns from experience. That's also that's a very valuable person on your crew as well. So I'd hate to see that get lost because people are being required to have a degree per se. But I'm also, I'm a big fan of education and learning. So I can see both sides.
Yeah.
Rommie?
I think that a lot of the, as the content continues to expand, especially at the paramedic level, that we're going to be moving into the hours that are going to get you towards a degree requirement anyway. And I think with the way the healthcare industry is changing and the particular way that our profession is expanding, that some of the other classes that wind up coming in with a degree are going to wind up being very, very valuable as well. But the problem is, like with a lot of things like this, the devil's in the details, exactly how we're going to do it. And right now, state to state to state to state, and not even bringing in the military and the territories, we have a hard time even getting together about renewal requirements. So, it's going to have to be the kind of thing that's going to take a little bit more work. I haven't seen details that I think are really, really functional, but I think we need to be there, and we're moving in that direction anyway. So the more that we work on it, the more we have conversations like Mike is talking about, at EMS Today. I think the faster the profession and the individuals who are in it now and going to it are going to be able to move forward. But this is where we need to be having these conversations face to face,
I agree. And I think that one of the things that gets lost, and Mike said it best, there's a Twitter explosion about it. I have never seen an intelligent conversation on Twitter yet. I mean, they all devolve into people questioning whether or not the other person's parents were related before they got married. So so that's the first thing, is that at EMS Today, we need to have this conversation. And I'm going to help promote it because it's one, for full disclosure, I used to support the same construct when it came to chief officers in the fire service. I no longer support that. I think that one of the things that we haven't done, and I think Rommie said it very well, is give the devil his due. In other words, the amount of training and education that go into these courses certainly should qualify right there as that level. The other part of that conversation that I see, and full disclosure, I've got degrees, so that's not, I'm not an anti-education person, but I have become an anti-formalized education person. Part of the problem I see with doing what they're talking about here is that some of the basic requirements that are required for an associate's degree, have to do some of it with the humanities and some of it with the sciences, and some of the math courses might be daunting for someone, say algebra based, college level algebra, which is a requirement in some associate's degrees. So how do we navigate that water, right? In other words, there is no uniformity into what an associate's degree requires across the nation. Whereas in the EMS community, you've done a good job of formalizing what is required to be a nationally registered paramedic. So maybe, in my mind, maybe the addition of an English course and maybe a basic math proficiency course would then allow us to say, put it out towards the states and say, we're asking you to recognize national registry as an associate's level accomplishment. That might be the way to go. But I think that it's treacherous waters when we trust academia to do anything, especially as freaking whacked out as academia is today. Someone's going to come in and say, okay, no disrespect, but I've got to study in transsectional gerbils and the outer stratosphere of the planet Urkron, who I worship because we worship the god Zaga 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 at left wing, right wing, you name it here, university, and that's their degree. Seriously? So defining that and academia, as corrupt as it's become, is just insane. So, and no disrespect to academia. I mean, I hold it in the same regard as I hold a lot of other things I don't like. But I respect academics. I think they're wonderful people. I just think that institutionally, they're really, I don't know how connected they are to street medics. You know what I mean? So I think that if the street medics can come forward and say, or the medics in general, the docs, the emergency physicians, as Mike said, they're going to be talking about it, and the EMS community can come together and say, we think this qualifies. That's a different story than the university of someplace, giving somebody a degree. No disrespect, but you can still get on the back of a match pack. Send us $100,000, we'll give you a degree. So, sorry, just my take on academia, which is probably pretty crazy. Me and Nassim Talib, study, read, educate yourself. Don't worry about the degree. But anyway, Mike, you said two things. What's the other thing? You have to unmute yourself, Mike.
The other topic of concern, and I think this is probably something more for leadership in EMS, but it directly affects everybody who's providing care, is this whole issue of reimbursement and cost reporting and that sort of thing. And I think that once again, we see different factions between the fire service and commercial EMS. And so we're sort of at a crossroads right now, which is good conversations going on at some pretty high levels. But I think from a perspective of looking at reimbursement and looking at what's happening in the transport business, Uber and Lyft are stealing a whole bunch of work from EMS, and call volume is kind of peaking at this point and is going to start dropping over the next few years. So the need to innovate and the need to figure out how to do more with less is going to be really important. And then the need to get onto the hill and talk about what we're being reimbursed is never been more important than it is now.
That's fascinating. I did see that proposal that came out a few weeks ago about reimbursement and such, and then I saw the IAFF and some other folks, and it kind of got into a discussion, if you will, that they were not happy with it. But I was not aware of the big competition from Uber, which is fascinating because that might mean my medallions aren't worth as much as they were, a couple of years ago. But on the other hand, I know of many programs like in Houston where they've done a really good job of using alternative delivery mechanisms, and they've actually improved care, as I understand it. Yeah. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I guess the unique thing about Houston is that EMS is part of public health, and that's part of hospitals. And so if you could figure out a way to reduce costs, you save money across the whole entire spectrum. But that's not really true in a lot of other communities. In a lot of other communities, they're competing with each other. And so you save money for EMS, and that money then goes to the hospital. You save money for the hospital, and that money goes somewhere else. And so I think it'd be nice if we were all like Houston or all like Pittsburgh, but we're not. So that's an issue.
I do think that one of the cool things about Houston is the telemedicine aspect of it. I think that's an area where we've seen a lot of really interesting experiments. South Carolina, I think there's somebody actually speaking at EMS Today on that topic. And then I just saw another report that's probably going to be in JEMS soon from Northern California. They're also implementing some telemedicine and doing some really cool stuff with that. So I think that's gonna be a game changer in the future. I think, especially as we're more connected, as we become increasingly connected in all of our communities across the country.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're not so good. We're not so good in EMS about adopting technology, and I think that's going to come to a head soon. I think.
You know, here in where I volunteer in rural Oklahoma, a lot of our medics are already connected through like iPads and stuff with the docs, and they can actually like stream a patient's vitals and a video, and then like the doc, you know, can like guide them through stuff and help them with patient assessment and care, and I think that's like very cool, you know, and I can see in the future where we'll have like patient cams, you know, like they have helmet cams, so that, you know, folks can get, you know, with the expression is probably not the right expression to use when you're talking about taking care of people, but more fingers on the knife, right? It's the old, you know, when you're in a gang, it was like when they killed Caesar, everybody had to stab him because nobody, you know, you couldn't have the one guy who said, "Hey, I didn't do it," right? You know, so, you know, spreading out that culpability. But it also helps in decision making, right? It also helps us when we get more opinions, you know, when we hear more voices, because my worldview, I might be really focused, and I'm going to make some stuff up here, so you guys start laughing at any point you feel comfortable. What I view as hypovolemia, or somebody who's traveling, you know, having a problem, might not really be, but I might have had some experience where I thought, you know, at this juncture I should do X, Y, Z. But the doc might say, "Oh, no, hang on. You know, you might, maybe you're misreading that," or, "Okay, you're right, but if we wait a little longer, or if we do this first." So I think that the telemedicine, and I think that the remote you know, connectivity through streaming and other stuff, as especially as FirstNet expands and we get more, you know, digital, you know, capability, and I think FirstNet will be obsolete before we finish even doing it, because it's how fast the technology is moving. But you know, you know, it'll probably get down to you just point your phone at somebody and boom, you know, you can connect them. But I think that's cool, and I don't know that it's the whole you know, medic community that's kind of against technology, or if it's just you old people. Point the mic. Just kidding. The guy who's 20 years older. "Hey, you young guys got to adopt this technology stuff. Gosh, dang it."
Wow, who's the guy with the white hair there?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Grandpa's connected, man. Grandpa's got it going, baby. Grandpa's got game. Hey,
I think when it comes to technology, for a lot of this stuff, it comes down to people of any age or level of geekdom and interest in this kind of thing, being able to apply it effectively. I think a lot of times there's some people who are great champions of how technology can improve the system and move an organization forward on a particular topic. But then the technology comes in, and beyond the person who's really excited and the salesperson who's anxious to get this technology sold, other people have a hard time, you know, using it really, really effectively. And again, I think that's where people can come in and they can ask the experts. I mean, to me, that the conference, you know, it's important to go into a certain topic and get some bullet points, get some key info, get a framework to understand that topic. But really being able to ask questions of not only the presenters, but of some of the other people who are attending EMS today, and say, "Hey, you got this new technology. We got this new technology. How did you make it work? What problems did you run into? I'm running into this issue here. You know, how did you overcome it?" And being able to use, whether it's technology or it's just the information that you're getting from the presentations, it's all about effectively being able to use it. And you know, we've got people from all over the world coming to EMS today. We've got people from all over the country. You know, there's a lot of different perspectives you can get on how to provide EMS, how to implement technology, how to use information. So you can get outside perspectives really easily, but also there's somebody else out there who's an expert, who's working in a system very similar to yours, who probably can help you, maybe not solve your problem, but move you forward on it. And that's one of my favorite things is, you know, you learn so much more sometimes in the hallways and the after hours events, even than you do right there in the sessions.
right, and you know, to dovetail on what you said, and you said it beautifully. I couldn't say it any better. But I'm old enough to remember when we used to have the thumpers, Remember those things, Mike? The automatic chest, the original automatic chest compressors, and they were fraught with peril. I mean, it was a nightmare, but now I look at like Rialto Fire and the modern machines that they have that do it, and I'm like, wow. And the results, the Rialto Fire results are fantastic. So, there's a game changer story right there, how they, put a couple of, as Rommie just said, some great technologies together, and they came up with, such a home run for that community. It's just mind boggling. I mean, really, really a big home run. And they didn't have to reinvent the wheel, right? They're some of the most clever cats I've ever met, and they did a great job. And hats off to them and their partner. I think it was Zoll who helped them really do some really cool work. So, to dovetail with Rommie, sometimes technology is it has to be a little more refined, and then it makes more sense. And so, but it's constantly evolving, right? I mean, so that's the cool part about it. And I think that's neat, Mike, that you would bring up those two things, education and then the use of technology. That's kind of, I don't care where you go. I don't care what profession it was. I mean, we could be the International Association of Coffee Bean Growers. They might say, we need more education and we need to adopt better technology. So I think our problems are not as unique to us as we would hope to think they were, because I hang around with a lot of mechanics just because I'm a crappy mechanic and I'm always trying to steal their stuff. And I swear to goodness, you go to a car show and guys say the same. Oh, we gotta have better education for our mechanics, and we gotta adopt better technology. And I'm like, yup, and just keep going, right? And that's why it's so cool. If you're a young medic out there, don't think that you have to be at the level, at the top of your game to be at this show. I mean, if you're just a regular medic like me, I've learned from this conversation right here, and the show is for everybody. And literally, we've done a great job of putting together classes that are whether you're a seasoned medic on an AMR unit or a FOC unit out there, or one of these other major corporations, or whether you're a medic for a small volunteer fire department somewhere, or a brigade, or working in an ER, or you're a PA. There's something for everybody. Even the emergency room docs that I've talked to have said, man, that show is just packed with stuff that they want to see and hear, so that they can talk to the guys and gals that are bringing these people in, right? And how we can all work better together. So Rommie, I'm going to throw it to you real quick, and then we'll get to Ryan and the JEMS games and all that great stuff, and other stuff we want to talk about, because there's just a gazillion things to talk about. What are you teaching this year, Rommie, and what keeps you up at night?
Well, I feel like I've kind of already talked about some of the stuff that concerns me is not just the information getting out there, the technology, all that stuff, but really making it work and figuring out how to make it work in all of the different kinds of EMS systems that we have out there. And that's really, as I've found, as sort of a central theme of the presentations that I wind up doing. I'm doing 3 at EMS Today. I'm going to be speaking about coordinating rescue care for crush injury and crush syndrome. We're going to talk about cardiac patients and acute coronary syndromes. Some new information there, but that and EMS and TBI field care for high impact traumatic brain injuries. And for a lot of this stuff, there's the new information. But what I find even more fascinating is when we take some of the information that's pretty well established or that we know, and then we look at it from a different perspective, especially a perspective that says, okay, here's what all the details say, and here's the best way to put it together in an ideal environment. Now, how do we make it work in more of a real world environment with some of the real challenges and the real resources that we're going to have, without compromising those key elements that have to stay there no matter what, sort of getting rid of some of the fluff, but keeping that real key stuff. And one of the things that I find as a benefit in my own practice as an EMS coordinator and as a practice as a paramedic is, when I get up there and I say, I'm teaching about crush injury and crush syndrome, and I'm describing the way that people need to be putting things together and the way that we do things in my own department. And then someone challenges me with some different questions, maybe because they have a different perspective or different expertise, or maybe because they're trying to solve a problem in their department, and it makes me think about, some of the stuff that we do, and right there in the room, we work on it together. There are always so many experts in the room. I find, especially when you come to a great conference like EMS Today, I wouldn't be speaking if I didn't know about applying this information. But there are a lot of other people in there because they are also experts, and they're putting it out there, and they're doing this on a regular basis too, and they want to learn the greatest. And I find, as an educator, the best thing that I could do is help bring those people in an effective way, so it doesn't become story time or war story time. But really put that stuff together, and that's I'm talking about the first thing specifically, that crush injury and crush syndrome. But that's certainly what I found previously at FDIC, and I think is my aim for what we're going to be doing at EMS Today as well, bringing people in.
But almost every class you just mentioned, when you talk about crush injuries or even TBI, it dovetails with what Mike's teaching about hypovolemia and things like that. In other words, if someone's got a crush injury, back in the day, I remember we used to try to stabilize them with mass trousers or boards, and then we always worried about volume. We worried about the second we, for example, someone in a trench, right, type C soil, and they've got a crushing injury in the lower extremity, but they're compensating, and as you extract this person, you got to have your head in the game, and it's tough. I mean, it's really tough, and so just imagine the value. And we're preaching to the choir, hopefully, but you're at EMS Today and you hear Mike talk, and a piece of what Mike said makes you think about a call you had, and then you're in Rommie's class and you're talking about TBI or you're talking about crush injuries, and you say, oh man, and you bring it up, and then you say, oh man, and then Mike says, oh man, and then some doc says, oh man, and that's how we evolve. That's the future, right? But if we don't do that, and everything's siloed and everything's and it's okay to do that. I mean, I get certain parts of education need to be, you just take the course and go through the grist mill. But what EMS Today does is blows that up, right? Because there's nobody speaking at EMS Today who isn't going to touch on some aspect of 15 to 20 or 30 other presentations at EMS Today, which is really amazing. And when you talk about TBI, traumatic brain injury, just think of the explosion, if you will, of interest and awareness of that in the general community today, whether it's football, whether it's car accidents, and I'll just, full disclosure, I was a skater, a surfer, played ball. I can't tell you how many concussions I've had, which I know explains a lot, hold the jokes, but seriously, I never took it seriously, and I probably had well over a dozen concussions, and I've been knocked cold for 5, 10, 15 minutes a few times, in my life, and I know it's not good, you know what I mean? But we never thought about it, so now we're evolving culturally as Western civilization, society. But here's Rommie talking about, well, what can we do? Because as you said it best, Rommie. The faster we recognize something, whether it's sepsis or whether it's, crush it, the better the outcome, right? The better the outcome. So I just think that's so, man, you cats are so cool that you know all this stuff. But I think what's really important is that, a guy like me, okay, with telemedicine, for example, I haven't practiced paramedicine for well over 20 plus years. I remember some of it, but I show up somewhere. If I could pick up my phone and have Rommie and Mike on the other end saying, okay, Bobby, this is what you're looking at, do this, man, we can change the world. We can change the world right there. Seriously, whether it's pressure dressings, whether it's putting the right kind of gauze on, as Mike was talking about earlier, that's why EMS Today is so important. I mean, all of it comes together, right? And some trauma surgeon out there might be thinking, holy crap, if I use that gauze on top of a head injury, you know what I mean? And it makes the whole world better from just, 3 cats talking about, their worlds, right? And their responsibilities. And just, you guys are amazing people. Ryan, I'm going to throw it to you. And so Ryan takes care of all the logistics on our JEMS games. He helps with just a million different things. I'm going to throw it to Ryan. Ryan, talk a little bit about the JEMS games, then I'll tell folks about the main program and all that good stuff. And then we'll kind of wrap it up. So
Oh yeah.
And all you medics out there who are so damn smart, I want to know how to cure the common cold right now. Send me the cure, because I got one. Sorry.
So the GEMS games, we're still looking for teams, by the way. We've got a good 20, a little bit over 20 teams. We've got space for 30, so we want your team there. Everybody who's listening, everyone who's watching.
Team Duckworth, baby. Where's Team Duckworth?
Go. And this year, we actually, so far, we have 3 teams that are coming over from overseas. We've got a UK team. We've got one from the United Arab Emirates. And from Taiwan, we have actually 2 teams coming from Taiwan. So it's a really cool chance to get to really, work side by side with medics from not only across the country, but all over the world. And one of the greatest things about GEMS games is not only just the competition factor, but the fact that you get to kind of hang out with all these guys and really learn from each other, kind of find out what they're doing in their system, but also, how they do things. And everybody's got their little tips and tricks, and that's one of the cool things about the GEMS games is that you get to kind of experience those with each other and learn from each other. This year is going to be even more challenging than last year. We always have to, raise the bar. So the prelims will be very similar to how it was last year with the different rooms. I can't tell you what the scenarios are for each room, but I can guarantee you they are very complicated, and they will challenge you, and they will entertain you, and they'll be a lot of fun to go through, and you'll learn something. And that's
throw out a hint. Throw them a hint.
I can't throw out hints. I can't do it. Trust me. I'll complain.
Ryan, the prelims are people can watch the prelims, right?
No, we don't allow people to watch the prelims anymore because we've changed it to make a little more intimate. So we've got people going into different rooms, and there's a scenario in the room, and it's very controlled. We want it to be very similar for each of the teams, so that they have the pretty much exact same experience. And then the finals, however, that is something that everybody can watch, and we encourage you to watch. We are always looking for ways to raise the bar on the finals, not just from the scenario perspective, but the patient perspective and the variety of patients and the different challenges that we can come up with in only 20 minutes. So it is challenging to put together, but it's a lot of fun. And I have to shout out and give a thank you to all of our judges and volunteers who help every year. They really do this out of their love for pre-hospital care and for paramedicine. So I have to say thank you to all of them, and also thank you to the teams that come, because you guys are awesome, and we love to see you every year, and we welcome you to join us this year. We're gonna have so much fun, you guys. It's gonna be awesome.
And I think, like, if you have never been to the games, it's amazing, because the way Ryan and his team have put it together, and AJ, is that they have the prelims, and then in the final competition they have a doc who does he's almost like the Vince McMahon. He comes out and he gives you the blow by blow, and explains the different holds and the different moves, and gives you some backstory, which is really awesomely cool. And then afterwards there's this giant party. There's this massive what do they call it when they do the thing on the phone these days and the crowd gets together and it just erupts? What are those called? You're young people, you should know that. Anyway,
I have no idea.
Pardon me?
It's like a flash mob.
Yeah, flash mob. It's
there
like a flash mob. Oh, look, they released Mike from the penitentiary. He's in a new setting. So it's like a flash mob after the GEMS games end, and it just blows up. And so if you haven't entered yet and you've been thinking about it, enter your team, because it's two things. First, it's a learning experience. It's a really good learning experience. It's fantastic for team building. It's incredible for networking, and it's just a damn good time. I mean, it's just an absolute blast. And no one's gonna, there's no judging. It's just everybody's just there to, put put their best forward, which is really, really cool. So if you haven't signed up yet, please sign up. Hey, main program real quick. It's going to be on Wednesday morning. It's going to start at 0800. We've got some amazing people going to be there. Chief Ben Barksdale is going to say a few words. He's a wonderful guy. We've got this incredible chaplain who's going to do the invocation this year. He's an Iraq War vet, amputee, and his wife is a member of the Color Guard. They're just really beautiful people who are going to be doing this really cool kind of deal for us. We're going to obviously commemorate, memorialize those that we've lost this year in the line of duty, which is really, really important. We've got a gigantic pipes and drums group coming in. We got a gigantic color guard going to come in. We're going to have a few words from AJ and others, and myself. And then we've got Ryan Jenkins, who's going to be speaking about, he's our featured presentation. He's going to be doing a really cool talk on millennials and learning in the EMS arena, which dovetails exactly with what Mike just was speaking about and Rommie was speaking about education. So Ryan is going to be adding to that conversation another piece of the puzzle, how people are learning today. So it couldn't be more timely, right? So we'll be having all that at main program, which is on Wednesday morning, and then we go right into the classes, and the floor opens up, and the GEMS games start, and then Thursday the GEM games wrap up, right? Thursday evening, right?
Yep.
And then a giant party, and then we finish out the classes on Friday morning, and then everybody can go home. If you've never been to National Harbor in Washington, D.C. is amazing. It's not the inner harbor, it's National Harbor, and it's a radically different place. It's just across the Wilson Bridge, and it's got dozens of incredible restaurants. It's got that you can walk to right out of the Gaylord. The Gaylord's this amazing place. Fantastic deal. The DC Fire is going to be hosting a invitation party, not an invitation party. They're going to be hosting an event, a party, where we may be able to have barges to take you to and from this party that the DC Fire is putting together. The mayor's going to be there. All kinds of cool people. And you talk about a chance to network. Our DC Fire friends. If there's people who can get legislators to show up, it's DC Fire. So, great opportunity to maybe do some networking with people who can make a difference. Great opportunity to go to Shotfest or Shopfest, which is a pretty cool event. They do really have a really gigantic, excellent time there. The Fools, again, are going to be there. So there's tons to do, thousands of people to network with, and thousands of things to see and do. So it's a jam-packed, 3 days, basically 4 days, if you count the pre-con. But let's talk about the pre-con for a minute. Besides Jeff Williams and Paulie Schuler, who we talked about earlier, you've got a full day with Gordon Graham, which you will need therapy for afterwards. We will have therapists standing by to help you. But Gordon Graham is doing a full day lecture, and I think you can sign up for it for like $200 for a whole day with Gordon Graham, which is unbelievable. I mean, it's an unbelievable opportunity to be one-on-one for a full day with Gordon Graham. And not only Gordon Graham, the list of speakers that are in there doing pre-con are literally just amazing. And whether you're looking for a good class on data management, whether you're looking on a good class for active shooter, whether you're looking at a good class, there's an amazing class about communicating and for community-based paramedicine. They call it interviewing. So like interviewing your patient and stuff. Those people, that class is like a standing room only class. And the list just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. I mean, the pre-con is just absolutely chock full of just the most amazing workshops. And there's still space available in just more than a half a dozen of them. Checking out that hashtag FE Talks. But you've got everything from ultrasound. You've got stuff about again, I talked about the interviewing class. You've got data analysis. You've got wilderness. Oh man, you've got Will Smith and John Polis who are coming in wilderness care. And when you think about wilderness care, think about any remote location that you may be at outside your immediate community where you can transport in say 20 or 30 minutes or more. Will's going to talk to you about what to do in pre-hospital care that's remote, right? You've got simulation stuff. You've got all kinds of great stuff. You've got pet first aid. If you want to take the pet first aid class, I think the morning session may be sold out already. So, pet first aid for the EMS provider, the list just goes on and on of the incredible pre-conference stuff that's available in amazing at amazing prices. The other thing to remember is that there's all kinds of discounts for groups. So if you're coming with 5 or 10, check it out. I mean, you can get up to 100 people in a group pricing for $5,000. That means that you're sending your people there for like, I don't know, what's that, $5, $50 a piece? It's crazy. So, you can send up to 100 people for $5,000. So if you're running a program right now, right? And then it breaks down from there with incredible pricing. So, if you're my friends that run corporations of ambulance providers, whether it's EMSO or AMR or paramedics, whoever you are, man, you ought to be sending 100 people. If you've got a department, you ought to be looking at sending 10, 20, 30 people. Those group packages make it a no-brainer. And back in the day when I was a young person, and even today, I don't have any problems splitting a room with somebody. Put 2, 3 people in a room. Put 4 people in a room. Get a pull-out bed. Somebody can sleep in the chair. Heck, maximize your. But people want education. Give them the opportunity. So I'm going to throw it back to you guys for some closing comments, and we'll start in reverse order. We'll go right. You go first, big brother. Ryan, you're up first.
All right, man. Well, I look forward to seeing everybody at EMS Today. And if you have any questions about the JEMS games, go to the website, emstoday.com. And you can click on the little link for the JEMS games, and it has all the rules and everything. And I'm, of course, available if you have any questions about the competition. And Rommie, I'll toss it to you.
Hey, Ryan, how can they get a hold of you? Is there an email for you, bro?
Yeah, you can get a hold of me at ryan.kelley, and my last name is spelled Kelley, at clarionevents.com.
Very cool. Rommie?
Just looking forward to seeing existing friends, current friends down there, meeting new friends, really just having those conversations that we were talking about, being given a chance to share some of the stuff that we've put together, and really building a team effort in a team atmosphere. That's what I'm really excited about.
Amen. Big Mike.
So I'm looking forward to being there as well, with all of my new friends, old friends, with everybody from the JEMS community, and spending some time with yourself and with AJ and Rommie and Ryan and all these other folks that are listening to us. So it is promising to be a really interesting show, a lot of new things, and I'm definitely looking forward to the event.
I always laugh because we're connected with FDIC, and we're connected with other shows, and I'm old enough to remember Woodstock. I don't, I was passed out in the back of a station wagon, so I don't remember that much of it, and I was young, but you don't want to be the guy that isn't there, right? You don't want to be the gal that didn't show up when somebody said boom shakalaka, right? And there's going to be some boom shakalakas, to go back to the 70s, at this particular show, and not just the boom shakalakas. As Mike just said, the new friends, the new contacts, the new person that you can reach out to, who like the pet medicine gal, and I can't wait to meet her, because pets are an important part of our lives, and pet EMS is a really important thing to do, and whether you're, doesn't matter whether you're what kind of medic you are, being able to help folks out with those issues are a big deal. Data is a big deal, and it's sometimes to those of us who, what do we say? Figures lie and liars figure. So learning how to really look at data, right, and good databases, and then what do you do with it, right? Like everybody talks about big data. Well, then what do you do with it, right? Okay, so you got all this data. What's it really mean? So that's important stuff, learning how to ask better questions, learning how to be a better interviewer. That's important stuff. And then just getting to know these people who, getting to know, being able to pick up the phone and call and be able to ask a guy like Mike McEvoy or Rommie Duckworth, hey, this happened, did I do the right thing? Or what do you think about this? And should I bring, should we be looking at doing this or that? And Mike's going to be honest with you. He might say, give it 6 months, give it a year, or he might say, oh yeah, you're behind the curve. You want to do that. You want to be doing, and Rommie's the same way. They don't pull any punches. And Ryan is an incredible asset too. And I wish AJ's computer had been working. I feel terrible we didn't have AJ with us. He's been just going through computer hell, and so we apologize we couldn't have him on with you today. But just getting to know AJ Heitman, who's just an icon in the industry. It doesn't matter if you're a firefighter or a brigade EMT person or you're brand new to the field. You know who this cat is, man. And just getting to know these guys and being able to walk up to people like Winnie Majori and say hi, and introduce yourself, and and they're going to be there. Angie Hughes, Ryan Birdman Parrott is going to be there, who's a Navy SEAL who was blown up in Iraq. He was a turret guy, got thrown 300 feet roughly, and that's why they call him Birdman. And his last name is Parrott. But he's going to be talking about how to go through that. And he started a foundation where he's getting scholarships for burn docs, right? For future burn docs. His foundation raises money to send doctors through burn school. And then you've got Rick George. Rick is going to be teaching about resiliency for EMS providers, right? Like, the thing about PTSD that a lot of people miss, the big connection, we all go through depression and stuff like that. But the big thing with PTSD that he's going to be talking about is malevolency, right? The more malevolency that was involved in whatever event is hurting you, like if someone hurts you intentionally or hurts others intentionally, those really rock our world. Bad people upset our view of how people should behave. And there are bad people out there. And medics go to help those that have been injured by bad people. And that's a big part of it. And Rick is going to do a whole workshop on resiliency and coping and understanding all of that, right? In terms of, projection and sleep deprivation and cortisol. And then the conversation, I think, needs to go one step further. And I'll end on this note. One of the things that's plagued me for the last few years, and I'm going to be talking about it in Austin this week, is that we all know that cortisol issues are directly related to autoimmune diseases. But no one's talking about autoimmune diseases in EMS and fire and law enforcement. And they're pervasive. And they are absolutely pervasive. We talk about cancer, we talk about heart, we talk about everything else. But the orphan child has been just the incredible explosion of autoimmune disease within our community. And I think it needs to be addressed. It desperately needs to be addressed. And so I'm going to bring that forward and see where it goes. But on a more positive note, it's going to be an incredible, incredible show. I want to thank our guest today, Ryan Kelley, with an E. That's Kelley, and it's Ryan.Kelley@clarionevents.com. If you need to get a hold of Rye or any questions at all about the JEMS games or the show, Rye can answer it. Rommie Duckworth, who's just a dear friend. He's been teaching with me since I can remember, and Mike McEvoy, who's just another icon and one of my mentors and dear friends, and so valuable to me personally in my life, and such a joy to be able to spend even an hour with you today. And I thank you for taking time out from your parole hearing to be with us. And I hope it goes okay. I'm just kidding. I'm trying to make fun of Mike's suit all day, but thank you all so much, and thank you for listening to us today. Remember, it's EMS Today, February 19th to the 22nd in National Harbor, at the Gaylord in National Harbor. Google it; it'll blow your mind, and we'll see you there. And thank you for being with us. And please be careful out there.